Amazing transformation. CEO discovers the hidden truth behind a young girl and her baby brother. Tom Daniel surveyed the grand lobby of his high-rise, watching the bathe of golden hues reflect off polished marble. The skyscrapers of San Francisco, the pulse of innovation, towered outside, each a testament to his relentless ambition. He was a self-made man, revered by colleagues and feared by competitors. Yet beyond tailored suits and boardroom victories lay a gaping void that only deepened with every hollow applause. He couldn't shake the feeling that somewhere within him resided a heart longing for connection, a heart alienated from his fractured family, clouds of regret shadowing his every achievement. That rainy evening, driven more by a restless urge than camaraderie, he ventured down to a local soup kitchen, an unfamiliar retreat from corporate life. It was here he first laid eyes on Mia, a fierce 10-year-old girl, crouched protectively over her baby brother while serving food. The slice of bread she handed over with unwavering determination was not just food. It was testament to her unwavering love, a stark counterpoint to Tom's world laden with ambivalence. Uneasy emotions stirred within him, black and white memories of family dinners long lost. Mia's fierce grip on her brother signified strength he had long abandoned, and for the first time in ages, Tom confronted a moral dilemma. Should he break free from the polished, self-absorbed nature of his existence and extend his resources to these innocent lives? Or was he simply layering a Band-Aid over the guilt that had quietly seeped into his well-furnished life? The questions echoed louder as he learned of their plight, an unemployed single mother struggling while Mia hoofed it around the barren streets to keep her baby brother safe. Tom's thoughts raced, his heart quickened, an internal tempest brewing as he unwrapped the connections tracing back to his own past. A grandfather, once a beacon of hope in this very community, lay estranged mere miles away. Each revelation felt like a punch to the gut, compelling him to confront the haunting truth that while he basked in wealth, profound need lay just blocks away. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As these haunting realizations swirled within him, the pressure mounted. Did he truly have the capacity for redemption? The emptiness inside him felt relentless, a quiet roar juxtaposed against the innocent love Mia showed for Jake. Each moment of quiet reflection echoed with lost opportunities, unspoken words with family members, and now, the undeniable truth that his success paled in the light of Mia's courage. With each glance, her eyes mirrored his past too many nights spent alone in gilded rooms, a slew of hollow encounters. Would he join the ranks of those who turned a blind eye to suffering, perpetuating the gap between his affluent lifestyle and the crushing reality Mia faced? As darkness fell and raindrops tapped against the windows, Tom stood at a precipice, heart pounding in a pulsing rhythm of dread and hope. The unseen tomorrow loomed, pregnant with possibility yet loaded with consequences. How would he choose to shape fate when faced with the innocent yearning of two souls, shadows of his own fractured legacy? The weight of his decision pressed down. Could it redefine who he was, or would it be yet another day of business as usual? The struggle raged within him, and the clock ticked on, leaving the question unanswered: who would he choose to be? Tom's heart raced, a wild rhythm that threatened to break free from the confines of his tailored suit. As he stood in the dim light of the soup kitchen, the chill of the evening air seeping through the window panes, he felt the weight of the decisions yet to be made. The vibrant life outside, the buzz of success, the lively conversations in upper-class restaurants felt distanced, almost foreign. All that thunderous applause he so craved turned mute against the silence that echoed in this small haven of vulnerability. He glanced at Mia as she assuredly served another meal, her small frame brimming with an intensity that he yearned to understand. It took someone incredibly strong to be so resolute in the face of adversity, and yet here he was, beset with indecision. Wealth and success, the pillars he had built his life upon, stood at odds against the needs of a little girl whose unrelenting spirit grounded him. "What can I offer?" Tom muttered under his breath, catching himself questioning the very foundation of who he had become. His life, meticulously curated, began to reveal stark limitations. Money had never filled the void wherein connection dwelt. In the days that followed, Tom's encounters at the soup kitchen became a ritual. Each hour spent with Mia and Jake pulled threads from his past. He learned to listen not just to their words, but to the stories buried under layers of hardship. They shared laughter over modest meals and discovered joy amidst shared struggles. For the first time in years, he felt a sense of purpose slipping into the cracks of his polished life. Yet, with each visit, a new realization dawned. He was not merely an observer. His position afforded him power, and power demanded responsibility. How could he reconcile the vast chasm between his wealth and their struggle? The memories of his grandfather, the man who had initially aimed to uplift the community, surged back. Though estranged, Tom could sense that the wisdom of his legacy lingered, clamoring for acknowledgement. One evening, as rain splattered down outside, Tom reached a personal breakthrough. A quiet resolve formed. He could utilize his resources not just to alleviate guilt, but to engender real change. The thought ignited a fire within him, a tenet that shaped his newfound vision. He called in a favor from an influential contact to secure a meeting with a local community leader. Perhaps he could launch a program that would empower young people like Mia and lift struggling families from the brink. Impulsively, he committed to meeting Mia to share his idea. He envisioned their faces lighting up not only with hunger satisfied, but with possibilities unfurling. Yet, as his resolve crystallized, a wave of uncertainty overwhelmed him. Could he really navigate this new world, or was it merely a misguided attempt at self-redemption? Just as Tom was poised to step into uncharted territory, the clock on the wall rang a heavy toll. A curious unease settled within him, swirling in tandem with a sense of excitement. He wouldn't just be face-to-face with Mia. He'd be confronting his own ghosts, the unspoken expectations of his mother, the disappointment of his departed grandfather, the shadows of his solitary existence. How would Mia react to his proposal? Would she welcome his new vision, or would she see him as another encroacher from upstream? The anticipation was electric, charged with possibility, yet shrouded in doubt. The walls of uncertainty loomed around him, and Tom found himself questioning yet again the depth of his own intentions. He realized with startling clarity that destiny was not merely a path to be taken, but a decision demanding courage. As he prepared for the meeting, the echoes of the past intermingled with the whispers of a potential future, leading him to ponder which version of himself was about to emerge. The meeting held the power to redefine everything. Could this moment catalyze transformation in his life, and, more importantly, in the lives of Mia and Jake? The time had finally come to confront the deepest question yet. Who would he choose to become? Tom arrived at the soup kitchen, the scent of simmering broth wafting through the air and momentarily distracting him from the knots in his stomach. He had rehearsed his proposal countless times, each iteration layered with hope and anxiety. The bubbling anticipation mingled with a gnawing apprehension. Was he truly prepared for the vulnerable world he was stepping into? As usual, Mia was bustling about, her small form a whirlwind of determination. He watched her for a moment, marveling at her resilience. It struck him that her spirit was a beacon he had been drawn to, illuminating paths he had long ignored. Today, that beacon would guide him out of the shadows of his own hesitation. "Hey, Mia," he called, forcing a slice of confidence into his voice. She turned, eyes brightening at his sight. "Tom, you're back," she exclaimed, wiping her hands on her apron, a wide smile breaking free. She resembled a sunflower nodding towards the sun, a reaction feeding his determination. He beckoned her to join him at a quiet corner, sensing this could be a pivotal moment. As they sat, he felt the room swirl around them, voices hushed by the gravity building within him. It was no longer a matter of discussing food distribution or funding. This was deeper. He was here to offer hope, a glimpse into a brighter future. "Mia," he began, his voice steady but laced with urgency. "I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about last time. About how I can help you and Jake. I think I have an idea." Her expression shifted from curiosity to cautious optimism. "What is it?" she asked, Leaning forward, anticipation flickering in her eyes, Tom swallowed hard, his palms clammy against the polished surface of the table. I want to start a program that changes lives. A mentorship initiative that helps kids like you and Jake develop skills, get support, and envision a better future. I can pull some strings, gather resources, perhaps even find mentors who can guide you. He watched as emotions danced across Mia's face, her brow furrowing in contemplation. Mentors? Like people who help us? Yes, he said, his own excitement igniting. They could teach you things, help with school, provide guidance. I want you both to have access to opportunities, dreams you can pursue. A moment of silence stretched between them, charged with unspoken thoughts. Tom's heart pounded in his chest. Would she embrace this idea, or dismiss it as another empty promise? Mia's eyes gleamed with a mix of wonder and skepticism. But why would you help us? You have everything. We're just us. Her words pierced him, exposing the fragility of his intentions. That's exactly why I need to help, he countered, the truth spilling out of him. I've realized that my life has lacked meaning. Being around you and Jake, I see potential I want to nurture. You both deserve chances I never acknowledged before. As he spoke, Tom felt a transformation within himself, breaking away from the chains of superficial success. The more he poured out his intentions, the more he became aware of the magnified sense of responsibility. He wasn't just asking for Mia's belief. He was inviting her into a partnership. He could no longer hide behind his wealth. He had to engage fully with their trust. Mia still hesitated, searching his eyes for truth. What if it doesn't work? What if people don't want to help? The weight of her doubt settled over him like a thick fog. Then we try again. Failure is part of growth. His determination solidified, amplifying within him. But we can't let that stop us from trying. Her gaze softened, the walls of skepticism beginning to crack. Okay, she finally said, a tentative smile breaking through. If you really mean it, I think I want to try. As relief washed over Tom, he realized he had crossed a threshold. This was not merely about a program. It was a commitment to transforming both their lives. Her belief in him mirrored back to him a renewed faith in his own potential. They were no longer worlds apart. Their fates entwined, interwoven with shared hope. But just as a warmth spread through his chest, the door swung open, a gust of wind following as a group of young men entered, their laughter exuberant, but their demeanor threatening. Tom's heart sank. A familiar tension filled the room, drawing focus and revealing the imminent shadows lurking within the mission he had just embarked on. What do you want to do, Mia? He asked softly, the momentary peace fracturing as uncertainty returned. I want to show you all of us, she replied, voice steady despite the growing storm. Tom felt a surge of resolve. He had answered his own question about personal growth, but now, they faced a new challenge on the horizon. Would he have the strength to overcome the external barriers threatening both their aspirations? With a deep breath, he stood up, ready to confront whatever came next, as he realized that this endeavor required not just tenacity, but an immediate embrace of transformation. And as the laughter clashed with their quiet resolve, only one thought pulsed through his mind. The time had come to face his biggest test yet. Tom's heart raced as he surveyed the group of young men, now filling the kitchen with raucous laughter that seemed to mock his determined resolve. Each boisterous outburst sent ripples of tension through the room, a stark contrast to the hopeful exchange he'd just shared with Mia. This was no longer simply about mentorship. It was a battleground, a test of his newfound purpose against the chaotic currents of their reality. Swallowing hard, he glanced toward Mia, noting the flicker of unease shadowing her confidence. This was more than just a fleeting moment of distraction. This was a pivotal point. If he wished to solidify their partnership and gain her trust, he had to embody the change he pledged to inspire. It wasn't merely about offering help. It was about standing firm in the face of adversity. Mia, he said, his voice steady, I want to know more about your world. Let us step outside for a moment. She nodded, casting a cautious eye toward the newcomers as they boisterously occupied the room. They both rose and made their way to the small outdoor space behind the kitchen, its dim light providing a brief sanctuary. The chilly air cleared his mind, allowing him to focus on the weight of his mission. What is really going on? He pressed, searching her eyes for the truth. I can't help if I don't understand. Mia hesitated, drawing in a breath. Those guys, they've been around a lot. Sometimes they're okay, but sometimes. Her voice caught in her throat, casting shadows of hesitation and fear that pierced through the thin layers of his resolve. They can scare people. They want to take what they can. The reality of her words unsettled him. He realized the gravity of what he was promising and the risks that might come with it. I can't let that stop us. Not now. But as the conviction flowed, his mind struggled with the implications of guardianship. Could he truly become a true mentor, not just in skill, but in shielding them from the harshness of life? Mia's eyes sparkled with admiration, but were simultaneously clouded by the harshness of her experiences. Tom, you have to be careful. It's not as simple as it sounds. It never is, he replied, yearning to project a strength he didn't quite feel. But I want to make it simple for you and Jake. I want to create a safe space for you two, where dreams can be nurtured instead of shattered. She looked at him with a mixture of hope and skepticism, as if weighing the balance of belief and desolation in her young heart. What happens when you're not around? Even as her words aimed to pull him back into the shadows of doubt, he felt something inside him solidify. That's exactly why I need to stay. I can't abandon you. Nobody will. I'll bring others who want to support you. The conviction echoed between them, pulling them forward as they both sought to navigate the unknown landscape of risk and commitment. Her expression softened, indicating a budding trust that hadn't been there moments earlier. Okay, she said softly, let us try. Determined to capitalize on the fragile moment, Tom took a step back and surveyed the environment. Mia had already extended hope, but he was beginning to recognize that the journey was about more than just providing mentors. It required permeating the very culture that bound them both. There would be setbacks, but there would be growth as well, growth that demanded embracing discomfort and facing opposition. Returning inside, he gained traction from the resolve that fueled him. The group of young men continued to chatter, their laughter echoing through the kitchen, causing his confidence to waver momentarily. They were not enemies just yet, he reminded himself. They were part of the environment he wished to navigate and, potentially, transform. This was a community, albeit a fractured one. Before he could second-guess himself, Tom approached the group, inching closer. Each step he took reverberated with uncertainty, yet the louder his own heart pounded, the more determined he became. He had stepped onto a path of conflict and metamorphosis that had been waiting for him all along. The gravity of his commitment was setting in, and he could feel the challenge crystallizing around him, the need to confront not only the young men, but his own fears. Hey, he called out, drawing their attention. Can I have a word? Eyes turned towards him, a mixture of curiosity and amusement reflecting back. The air shifted, the laughter waning as he prepared to dive into a conversation that could either connect him with these young men or expose the frailty of his initiative. Would they see value in collaboration, or would he become just another target in an unyielding environment? As they slowly turned to face him, a pulse of uncertainty surged through Tom. He was an outsider, yet he was determined to carve his place among them, and in doing so, not just reclaim the support he wanted to offer Mia and Jake, but redefine his own role in this world. The moment had arrived, just as he had felt it would. Making a commitment meant embracing the unknown, and in that nebulous blend of fear and courage, deep down, he understood one vital truth. This journey had only just begun. Would he be able to weather the storm and emerge transformed, not just as a mentor, but as an authentic pillar of support? Tom stood at the threshold of uncertainty, every gaze from the young men weighing on him like heavy chains. It was evident he had crossed the line from passive observer to active participant, and the gravity of that transition hung in the air like the unspoken words of a pact waiting to be formed. All right, he said, employing a tone that felt foreign yet appealing. I'm here to help. He fought against the tremor in his voice as he met the surrounding faces, searching for signs of belief or disdain. Each moment stretched uncomfortably in silence. Mingling apprehension with curiosity, one of the boys leaned against the counter, arms folded, an arched brow signaling skepticism. Help how? He challenged. What do you know about our lives? You have no idea what it's like out here. The words punctured Tom's composure. For a fleeting moment, he considered retreating. Was he out of his depth? Yet, he sensed a choice looming before him. Retreat back to safety or press on into terrain foreign and chaotic? I don't know, he admitted honestly, feeling the weight of vulnerability in his words. But that's what I want to learn. You can't build a bridge without understanding what's on the other side. The tension in the room thickened as the young men exchanged glances, some leering, others visibly intrigued. Tom understood he had taken a risk, but he was also beginning to recognize the value in his honesty. Look, I've been where you are, just not in the same way, he continued, trying to connect on a human level. I want to help you create opportunities, but I need to know what you really want. What do we want? Another young man scoffed, stepping forward. We want to survive. You think it's about dreams? You have no idea. Those words struck a chord deep within Tom. They were echoes of his own past moments where survival seemed the only objective. In that instant, something clicked. He realized that any effort he'd make would require more than just professional mentorship. He had to dive into emotional resilience, tackling fears head-on while navigating their harsh realities. I know survival is tough, Tom replied, his tone firming. But it's not the only option. I faced my own demons to become who I am today, believe me. It's not easy, and it takes time. Still, if you're willing to talk about it, I'd like to figure out how we can work together. I'm not offering answers, just support. The room vibrated with an electric undercurrent, the young men visibly grappling with his proposition. There was no immediate agreement or dismissal. Their contemplation felt like the quiet before a storm. Why should we trust you? The skeptic interjected again, his voice dripped with suspicion. People come and go, all talk, no action. What makes you different? Perhaps it was time to confront the truth directly, he realized. I can't promise that I won't disappoint you, he said, his candor almost startling. But I am here now, willing to make connections and open doors. I can share my resources and my experience, but you have to do the work with me. Trust has to be earned, and I'm ready to start earning it. An audible sigh filled the air, and for the first time, the atmosphere expanded with possibility. A third young man stepped forward, eyes narrowed but interest clearly sparked. Okay then, how do we start? What's the first step? Tom felt a shift. Perhaps trust was beginning to form like a fragile leaf after winter. Let us have a conversation, he proposed, a real one about what you face. Every story matters, and I want you to share yours. As he spoke, Tom could feel layers of his own uncertainty shedding away. He was not just a mentor, but a participant in a shared struggle. He was committed to fostering an atmosphere where all voices, especially Mia's, and her brother's, could resonate in their authenticity. But as the first hesitant responses began swirling, Tom's own doubts flickered in the back of his mind. Could he follow through? Could he truly be the support system they needed? He couldn't ignore the nagging question of whether he would prove worthy or merely become an echo of failed promises. As the group began to open up, the tension thickened once more, threatening to overshadow his growth. The pivotal truth revealed itself with quiet insistence. Just as he was attempting to find his place among them, he sensed an impending crisis lurking beneath the surface that could shatter any hope he was building. But what lay beneath this collaboration? Could new alliances emerge, or would the past haunt them all, creating a tumultuous storm that would surface at any moment? A voice within Tom urged him to brace for whatever was coming, for inside this new journey, true transformation awaited him. Would he embody the change he had so boldly pursued, or crumble under unforeseen pressures? Tom took a breath, shifting the weight on his feet, feeling the room's energy curl around him as he focused on the faces eager for a conversation, but guarded against potential disappointment. There was a burst of vulnerability blooming as he recognized the stakes of what was being proposed. This was not merely a dialogue. It was a potential awakening for all of them, a chance to confront the shadows that threatened their paths. Who wants to go first? He asked, curiosity daring to chip away at any lingering fear. Murmurs passed amongst the group, but it was the skeptic who eventually broke the silence. Why should we share anything with you if you don't even get it? His tone was sharp, yet Tom detected a flicker of curiosity within it. I don't, Tom replied simply, feeling his resolve harden. But I'm here to listen. I don't expect you to expose your lives completely in one go. Start small. What is one thing that weighs on your mind? What is one thing you wish someone would help you change? The young man's gaze locked onto Tom's, a challenge unwittingly posed. But then, a softer demeanor crossed his face, suggesting a crack in his defensive walls. He rubbed his neck and glanced at the floor. Another step forward, quieter this time. "I'd just like to not feel trapped." The words were small, but they struck Tom like a dagger, highlighting the raw emotion difficult for these young men to express in public space. "How does that feel?" Tom asked gently, wanting to draw the depth out of the statement. "It's suffocating," the boy said. "Like every day I wake up knowing there's nothing outside my door except the same dead-end choices." Tom nodded, recognizing that this sentiment extended far beyond mere words. It echoed through the walls, the peeling paint, and the memories trapped in each corner of their lives. Speaking with the boy, Tom felt the juxtaposition of his own corporate struggles with these tangible, immediate pains. Being a successful CEO didn't really buffer him from emotional paralysis in different forms. "Every day feels like a survival strategy," Tom offered, echoing their vernacular. "But what if we start plotting a new strategy that doesn't center on survival alone? What would you like your future to look like, if we can imagine it?" The young men's expressions shifted. Perhaps for the first time, they were beginning to consider a different horizon. Their apprehensions clawed at Tom's own sense of futility. Yet amidst those doubts blossomed the whisper of something robust and unyielding, the possibility of change. One by one, they shared bits of their reality: a desire to finish school, the fear of being trapped in the neighborhood without prospects, and a dream to support their families instead of being burdens. With each fragment of openness, Tom recognized more nods of acknowledgement in the room. Remembering his own past, he drew parallels: those moments when he felt abandoned by opportunity but learned to carve his path regardless. Yet, amid this journey of discovery, doubts lingered if he could translate understanding into action. "Okay," Tom said, his excitement bubbling as he envisioned potential paths. "Let us dig into those dreams. What are some steps we could take to bring them closer to reality?" A ripple of hesitation passed through them, voices dampening a little. Yet, this panic was underscored by a yearning to connect to deeper goals. It was here Tom recognized a pivotal moment. They didn't need quick fixes, but rather the framework for sustained growth together. As they delved further into their dreams, Tom's heart raced with both the thrill of possibility and the fear of inadequacy. Could he truly guide them where they needed to go? Were they ready to follow him? Or would their past experiences dictate a painful cycle he couldn't promise to break? In that moment, his own vision blurred, overshadowed by a singular thought: the battle wasn't just for their futures. It was about discovering what lay hidden within each of them, just as he was coming to uncover himself. Suddenly, the group erupted with barriers breaking down like walls of stone, an unexpected explosion of ideas arising, flourishing in the air where doubt had lingered just moments before. This echoed a moment of collective realization, yet the question loomed ominously for Tom. Could he sustain this momentum when the next challenge arrived, forcing them to confront the very past that had held them hostage? As the buzzing excitement filled the room, the tremors of foreboding coursed through Tom. With possibilities blooming, he felt anew. The inevitable storm approaches, but uncertainty loomed behind it, a test that could raise their fragile foundation. Would he prove to be the catalyst they desperately needed, or would his limitations strike a match to the tinderbox waiting to ignite? Tom stood at the precipice of a pivotal moment, his mind swirling with the intensity of the energy in the room. The excitement coiled tightly around him, palpably electrifying, but a surge of self-doubt was quickly displacing that initial thrill. As the conversations unfolded, he struggled to maintain clarity. Here he was, a businessman by trade, attempting to facilitate emotional healing in a room filled with raw, vulnerable youth. Would his corporate acumen translate into meaningful guidance, or was he merely an imposter in this fragile space? "Let us focus," he urged the group, pushing back against the drifting thoughts threatening to unmoor him. "What are small, actionable steps we can consider? Grounded strategies that can lead us toward your goals?" Silence blanketed the gathering as each person wrestled with their aspirations. The weight of their collective uncertainty wrapped around Tom like a shroud, fueling his relentless self-inquisition. What if they began to see through the facade he had constructed around his own life? A successful title didn't equate to the wisdom or insight necessary to navigate the emotional landscapes of others. His eyes caught the gaze of the skeptic from earlier. The boy had been silently contemplating, perhaps judging, every misstep Tom had made. When their eyes connected, Tom felt a flicker of challenge. This young man wasn't he merely waiting for assurance or insight. He was in search of authenticity, of trust. Did Tom possess enough of either to make this moment count? Look, the boy finally broke the silence. You want us to visualize our futures, but how do we get there when we can't take small steps? What if my dream is too big, or even impossible? What do I do with that? Tom's heart sank a little, but that vulnerability resonated deeply. It struck him. He was grappling with a similar sentiment, overstretched aspirations that teetered on the edge of unachievable. You're right, he admitted. It's not about envisioning a distant end goal without including the reality of the steps leading up to it. As he spoke, Tom remembered the times he had faced seemingly insurmountable challenges as he climbed his corporate ladder. The overwhelming pressure often paralyzed him, yet through that he learned the value of incremental adjustments. What if we take our focus away from the larger dream for a moment? Instead, let us tackle one specific barrier that blocks the path to your goal. Encouraged by Tom's shift in perspective, the room began to breathe again. Ideas started bubbling forth, the fear of failure transforming into a sense of collective cooperation. They spoke of their daily realities, the structures that stifled them, the stereotypes that overshadowed their aspirations. With every shared struggle, Tom felt a window of potential open before them. Good, he nodded, grasping the urgency of the moment. Let us pin these barriers to paper. Take 5 minutes and jot down what you feel is standing in the way of achieving even a fragment of your vision. We'll tackle them bit by bit, adjusting our perspectives as we go. The group began to write, and in that quiet, Tom took a breath. He felt the tension dissolve slightly, replaced with a tentative optimism grounded in action, a tangible commitment to progress. But then, a gnawing thought sparked. Carried on that current of energy, he feared these expressions might barely skim the surface. What would happen when they delved deeper and confronted the emotional turmoil blocking their paths? As each boy shared their barriers, some began openly weeping, and Tom looked on, torn between empathy and his own inability to help carry the weight of their pain. He realized that this wasn't merely about helping them advance. It was about recognizing that he had clouds hanging over his own dreams. Could he truly harness the vulnerability of this experience, both for himself and for them? If these young men were ready to carve a path toward hope with the right tools, was he prepared to confront the truth that lived in the depths of his own ambition? The sobering imbalance nagged at Tom, a flickering reminder that in being a guide, he was also revealing his own need for clarity and purpose. The session could evolve from an awakening to a reckoning. Intrigued by where he might find connection with these boys, he could hardly anticipate the revelation awaiting him just around the corner. The conversation reached a new peak, voices crescendoing with urgency and passion. With tomorrow closing in, Tom sensed that a line was about to be drawn, a crucial moment where he'd need to strip away his own doubts and rise to meet them, not just as a leader, but as a kindred spirit in their shared aspiration for redemption. The thought ignited an urgency in him. The time was approaching for transformative honesty to cascade through the room, a reckoning that could fracture their defenses, laying bare desires they feared to acknowledge. As the voices continued to swirl, Tom steeled himself. For tonight, their paths intertwined in unexpected ways, and the upcoming revelations threatened to alter their futures in profound, unimaginable manners. Would he find the courage to alter the trajectory of their lives, and in doing so, redefine his own? Tom stood in the midst of rising spirals of emotion, strain, and fear mingling with newfound hope. The walls of the room seemed to pulse, a living testament to every story unfolding within them. While the boys had peeled back layers of their barriers, his own remained ferociously intact. Could he, in this moment, allow the vulnerability of his past to intersect with their raw honesty? Let us invite one of you to share your barrier, he proposed, drawing back to the task at hand. But as he scanned the room, he felt the weight of expectation looming. He wasn't just facilitating growth. He was standing on the precipice of his own unearthing. That a young boy stood up, hands trembling slightly as he faced the group. I want to be a musician, but every day I have to hear my dad say how stupid it is. He doesn't think I can make it. The heartbreak in his voice struck like a bell, resonating deeply within Tom's own memories of parental expectations and the incessant weight of self-doubt. "Thank you for sharing that," Tom encouraged, his heart racing. Insights cascaded through Tom, creating connections in his mind he had long disregarded. If these boys were willing to confront their pain, could he do the same? The power of connection beckoned him forward, and perhaps it was time to transform his fear into strength. "What if we all share a barrier?" one of the boys suggested. "You've asked us to be honest. Now it's your turn." For a moment, Tom froze, the room tightening around him like a vice. Would stripping himself bare serve the purpose, or would it fracture their bond? Yet, the honesty of their environment was intoxicating. He had to resist the urge to hold back. After a deep breath, he succumbed to the tide. "All right," he said slowly, voice wavering. "I once wanted to be an artist. I have a diploma in business." But the truth is he hesitated, fighting against the rush of shame creeping in. "I was afraid that pursuing art would lead to failure. I let my dreams turn cold because I thought security mattered more." Silence dwelled in the air, but it wasn't oppressive, it was full. The boys began to glance at one another, their expressions shifting from shock to understanding. Tom could feel a palpable shift of camaraderie forming among them, affording them strength. They were all navigating similar paths marred by fear. "See, adults feel scared too," one boy remarked, breaking the moment into laughter, light and affection cutting through the heaviness that had cloaked them. For the first time, Tom sensed the beginnings of real intimacy in their relationships. It wasn't just about aspirations, it was about recognizing mutual fear as a common thread. But a familiar voice emerged in the back of his consciousness. Did being vulnerable expose him, or would it allow him to embrace true leadership? Would revealing his past failures catalyze growth or self-doubt? With each boy sharing their barriers, Tom felt some of his self-imposed chains begin to loosen. These young men needed a deeper connection, and perhaps, unconsciously, he longed for it as well. The collective wisdom of their stories blossomed into an unexpected confidence within him. They might find strength together, no longer lone figures, but part of a web of aspiration. Some of the stories tugged at the core of Tom's heart. A mother struggling with addiction, a boy who felt lost because he had to support his younger siblings. Each narrative lay bare the stakes, so similar to his own feelings of helplessness when he had embarked on corporate endeavors. As the stories deepened, Tom glanced at the boy who had first queried him, doubt replaced by hunger for truth as he listened. Within that moment, understanding dawned upon Tom like the sunrise after a sleepless night. Every defense he had constructed against vulnerability was merely an illusion. The session's climactic shift fueled a fiery determination in Tom. It was time to explore the roots of their barriers, root causes that stood tall, breeding fear in each of them. "Let us dig even deeper," he urged. "Instead of just barriers, let us discover what's at the core of these fears. What do we really fear losing?" As the question hung, anticipation bristled through the room. Tom felt a rush of adrenaline. Would digging deeper expose scars too painful to bear, or lay the foundation for solid growth? The murmurs rose again, the energy pulsing, and Tom steeled himself for the honesty that lay ahead. The flames of danger mixed with hope, swirling in the agreement that they could all face the truth together. This wasn't just a path for the boys. It was an unforeseen trail toward reclaiming his own identity and direction. As he prepared to confront the depths of these revelations, a thought circled his mind. Could he truly guide these boys to transformation while striving to redefine himself? The weight of the promise loomed heavy on the horizon. Tom's heart raced as he took in the palpable excitement and anxiety in the room. The boys leaned forward, eager to explore the core of their fears. The energy was infectious, igniting a spark deep within his own being. This was not just a discussion. It felt like a profound expedition into the depths of their collective psyche. "Let us think about what losing something means to each of us," Tom began, his voice firmer than before. "What's at stake if we don't confront these fears?" He couldn't ignore the tingling apprehension forming in his gut, as if the very act of questioning could unlock a dangerous door. The boy with thick glasses, hesitant yet determined, broke the silence. "I fear losing my chance at a real friendship. My parents moved a lot, and I never knew how to keep friends. I'm scared they won't accept me if they know I'm different." The vulnerability in his words struck Tom anew, revealing how interconnected their fears were. Tom reflected on that. He had often felt isolated by his own choices, the weight of his corporate life distancing him from authentic relationships. What if we could create a space where being different becomes an asset, not a barrier? He proposed, his internal voice growing stronger. Like a shared space? Asked another boy, eyes sparkling with interest. Exactly, Tom encouraged, his mind racing towards a possibility. What if they could build not just a team, but a family? He wondered if they could cultivate an atmosphere where every voice mattered, where each barrier became a catalyst for growth. The dialogue continued, evolving like a living organism. Boys shared fears of being misunderstood, losing family connections, or never fulfilling their dreams. As they spoke, Tom's own fears emerged more clearly in his mind. What did he stand to lose if he embraced his true passions? A realization took shape, a growing conviction that leadership thrived not on authoritative control, but on the willingness to be real. As they explored deeper, Tom saw the raw determination reflected in their eyes. One boy, his chin trembling, voiced a fear of letting his younger sister down. If I can't take care of her, what will happen to us? She depends on me. Tom felt his heart constrict momentarily, the familiar pang of helplessness resurfacing. But it sounds like you care deeply, he realized, noting how strength and vulnerability coexisted in the boy. In those moments, Tom connected fragments of his own life. His fixation on seeming secure had blinded him to the emotional landscapes that defined his existence and aspirations. How can we transform these fears into strengths? He inquired, the question now feeling like a thread tying all their narratives together. Their faces lit up with the challenge. Yet he recognized the uncertainty that cloaked them. As they brainstormed solutions, Tom felt the weight of responsibility shift. He had entered this room thinking he was here to lead, but now it dawned on him. They were leading him too. Their conversation flowed seamlessly, and though he initially worried about revealing flaws, he now saw they were equal partners in this journey. Amid the exchange, Tom caught a glimpse of something deeper at play. Each boy battled societal pressures and personal turmoil, and those struggles mirrored his own. Uncertainty flickered in him, and the quest for leadership veered into the territory of shared vulnerability. How do we move beyond just sharing fears? Another boy asked, drawing Tom back to the present. The question echoed within him, challenging him to respond with integrity and courage. He wanted to create not just deliverables, but a framework for genuine connection. Yet he hesitated. The path forward loomed complex. As the boys sought answers, Tom felt himself at an impasse, a conflict between his desire for professional success and the dreams that once ignited his passion. Was he prepared to embrace that tension? Outside the room, the world pulsed on, unaware of the transformative journey unfolding within four walls. Yet here, actions were dictated not solely by and for adults, but by a shared commitment to discover an alternative narrative. Let us remember, he spoke up, a new resolve anchoring his words. Our barriers don't define us, but our response to them can shape our lives. So what's next? How do we turn this promise of vulnerability into real change? The room erupted in a flurry of ideas, each one resonating with possibility. Yet beneath the electric hope, Tom wrestled with a gnawing fear, one that questioned his authority in the midst of such profound vulnerability. Could he sustain this newfound direction and dare to turn his dreams into action? As they gathered enthusiasm, Tom caught a glimpse of shadows within himself, shadows intertwined with the boy's fears. He faced a pivotal moment. Would he dive into the depths of his pain, or would he assign himself the role of an observer, distant from the very lessons he aimed to impart? The intensity of the moment hung in the air like a bell, a premonition of the transformative journey ahead. Would he choose to confront his demons and co-create a path forward, or would he retreat, limiting them all in the process? Tom stood firm among the boys, the weight of raw vulnerability pressing against him as they collectively embraced a pivotal moment, teetering on the edge of transformation. The room buzzed with anticipation, not just for their futures, but for his as well. Every shared fear echoed his own, whispering truths he had long buried beneath ambition and success. All right, Tom began, his voice steadier than he felt. We've shared our barriers, our fears. Now, let us identify how we can break them down. Each of you, What's one actionable step you can take toward challenging those fears, starting today? The transformation was palpable as the boys leaned forward, eager to visualize a path out of despair. One boy with enthusiasm bubbling over suggested, "What if we set specific goals, small ones, so we can track our progress?" Ideas cascaded from there, each boy building on the next, their voices intertwining in harmonious collaboration. Tom felt a flicker of pride. It was not just about him mentoring them anymore, they were forging a collective path. "We could meet weekly," chimed in another, "support each other on those goals." The thought resonated with Tom. They were not only looking to him for guidance, but were carving out a community of accountability and encouragement. He knew he could offer them resources, tools that originated from his corporate experience, but the true strength lay in this newfound partnership among them. "Yes," Tom exclaimed, his hands gripping the edge of the table to ground himself. "Let us commit to a weekly meetup where we can share our struggles and victories. It doesn't matter how small they are. Each step counts. And I'll bring in mentors from my network, folks who can show you how to refine your skills, tools to help turn those dreams into reality." Excitement surged through the group, each boy nodding with renewed energy. Tom felt the tide of his self-doubt diminish. He was no longer just a businessman, but a facilitator of dreams. As the meeting continued, reflections of pain morphed into plans for attack against the obstacles they faced. They emerged from the sessions with a tangible sense of determination. That afternoon was a crucible of confidence, melting away the fears that had long shackled them and leaving behind a foundation for future growth. Days faded into weeks, and the program transformed what initially felt like a generous offering into a living, breathing entity driven by young aspirations and Tom's guidance. The boys embraced the opportunity, each investing in their commitment to this newly forged brotherhood. Their conversations became deep, laden with aspirations, filled with laughter, encouragement, and shared wisdom. Tom was captivated by their evolution. He watched as Mia and Jake shone brightly amidst the chaos. Every milestone they achieved echoed within him a testament to the power of dismantled barriers and the courage of connection. These boys, who once epitomized fear and uncertainty, now navigated their lives with a palpable determination. Yet the most profound shift emerged in Tom himself. No longer was he merely the CEO, disconnected from vulnerability. With every boy who shared his goals, Tom unveiled layers of himself he had hidden for years. He began to communicate with his estranged grandfather, bridging the gap that had long defined their relationship, striving to cultivate the artistry he once feared to embrace. Through nurturing the boy's ambitions, Tom discovered purpose that went far beyond his former corporate successes. He became entrenched in community and storytelling, feeling the pulse of collaboration guide him toward fulfillment. The weight of lost time dissipated. Replaced by solid confidence, he was no longer just a man in a tailored suit, but a resilient leader contributing real change. The day finally came to showcase their collective work, a community event, inclusive of their families, highlighting the successes of the program. Tom stood proudly, witnessing the fruition of dreams once veiled in shadows now leap into the light. Mia presented her accomplishments, Jake's. Laughter spreading through the room, and the young men spoke passionately about their goals achieved and still in progress. In that triumphant moment, Tom felt recognition wrap around him like a warm embrace from the very community he once overlooked. They applauded not just him, but each other, acknowledging the progress made together. Tom didn't just achieve success. He conquered the emptiness that had lingered for so long, proving he could be more than a businessman, crafting a legacy that intertwines competence, compassion, and connection. As the applause echoed, he embraced the realization that this journey was not just about their individual triumphs, but about forging meaningful relationships anchored in trust. His heart swelled, grounded in a clarity he had never known where there used to be voids. There was now presence, purpose, and a community reshaped through courage. "Let us keep pushing boundaries," he rallied everyone, excitement bubbling anew. "Your journey has just begun." This journey, filled with risks and breakthroughs, marked a decisive chapter, one where Tom chose to fully inhabit his own narrative of growth and impact. He stood there not just as a mentor, but as a transformed man, This was fulfillment. It was meaningful triumph, earned through authenticity and commitment. Now is your time to join the movement. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the powerful stories coming next that will change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show you care. Comment below your thoughts on this transformative journey and share your takeaways. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Stand with us, and together let us transform lives.